Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And today we are building in Windenburg. The lot name is at the top left-hand side of the screen. I've never built on this lot before, and as I'm recording this voiceover, I cannot read the lot name. So definitely check it out if you're wondering where this build could be suited for. I think this is a 30 by 40 lot or something like that. It's pretty big, and this is actually where the Munch family is originally located in Windenburg. Now, first and foremost, I was going off of a reference image for this build, so I'll pop it on screen for you right now. I do make some adjustments off camera just because I wasn't really liking some of the shapes that contributed to the overall shape, and just some like aesthetic changes in regards to color scheme. But I built this specifically for the Munch family, which was super exciting for me. I haven't built for a particular family, as in like maybe a pre-populated family from a pack or something, since I built for a family in Mount Como, I want to say it was, and I don't even remember the family name, which is really embarrassing, but this is actually going to be for my save file, which I do not usually explicitly say if I'm building for my save file, but this was a build that I wanted to check off my list for the potential release of my save file version 2.0. I am not making any promises as to a time frame or what else is going to be included, but this is definitely a build that I wanted to tackle. And you know what I thought is it's fall, and building in Windenburg in fall is just so stunning and beautiful and amazing. I just had to do it. Like the fall colors, they're just, oh, I just love them so much. And I think that the color scheme I ended up going for the exterior itself, because you can see I'm playing around with it now, trying to make it a little bit more to my liking, because I really didn't like how it was looking before. I just feel like a lot of these colors lend themselves to the fall season or the autumn season. I don't know if you all agree or not, but you can see I was very indecisive, especially with the roof. I didn't know if I wanted the roof to be brown or if I wanted it to be black and kind of darken it up a little bit. I was going with this roof from, what's it called? From, what's it called? Snowy Escape, the pack. I was trying to think of the pack, not the world. And I didn't mind it, but I just felt it was almost too brown for everything else that I selected. And you can also see I'm trying to play around with different windows, trying to get a little bit more creative with what windows I ended up using instead of just exclusively using windows from Get Together. But I ended up really doing that anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I really, really like this build, and I hope you like it too. It is a long one, so buckle up. I think we've got like near 35 minutes for this video. I don't really know what else to say on the exterior. I did end up really liking the shape. I add a ton of like chimney stacks, chimney stacks, just because I see that a lot with Tudor style homes. And I don't know if I would necessarily consider this a Tudor style home in the sense of some of the specific architectural details of Tudor style homes. I don't really know if I achieved that, but I do really like the shape. And since I had that reference image, which, you know what, why not? I'll just put it on screen for you again. I thought I at least matched the image fairly well, and that was considered a Tudor style home. I think the only differences really are like the entryway. I didn't make it enclosed. I think that's kind of what I was looking at there. Yeah, it's not really enclosed, it's very open. I just didn't make it enclosed because I just didn't want to, and I liked adding a little front porch here as well. And then the back, I had nothing to go on for the back, so I just put like a back porch that was really open, and that's about it. I had to literally cut my voice over there because I was starting to get stuffed up. I don't know about you all, but I had never had allergies before, okay? I was born and raised in New England until I lived in Texas for a very brief stint. I think it was only a couple of years. And when I came back, voila, I had allergies and I was pissed. I was livid. And now every change of season, for the most part, I get allergies, which is a little bit annoying. Like, I don't have a cold right now, but I sound awful. You might not hear it, but I sound terrible. And I was getting super stuffed up from talking so much because I'm pretty sure the fall allergies are coming in and it's not ideal. But anyway, ignore that. We are almost solidified on a shape. Here is the final shape that we ended up going with, the final color choices, including a darker roof to really bring out just like the darker color tones, the darker color palette, if you will, that I wanted to capture in this build. I always tend to gravitate towards the darker wood tones anyway, especially for autumnal builds. I can't help it, it's just who I am. But now we're working on the landscaping, which I used a lot of Get Together debug menu items to do. And I also just combined it with base game items, so it's mainly Get Together debug and base game debug for the landscaping, which I really liked. And even though I'm building in fall, I also want to emphasize this isn't an autumnal themed build per se. The title might say like a huge autumnal Tudor or something like that, but it's not like decked out with pumpkins or like fall activities or other decorations. It is just I'll just say a regular family home with just kind of more of a fancier theme on the interior, just because it is so huge and it's in Windenburg and it's for, again, a particular family. So what I really enjoyed about this build as well is, I don't know, it just felt like I had a lot more space to play around with than I anticipated. And I really did enjoy that, even though I struggled to fill said space. I was trying to use these debug fences from Get Together because I never use them and I really didn't like them. And what I ended up doing is I think I got rid of these and used a debug fence from Cottage Living. I will stand by this. Cottage Living has been one of the most versatile packs that we've ever gotten in The Sims 4. I will say that with my whole chest. I don't know what it is. I just feel as though it's extremely versatile. And the debug menu makes it even more versatile than just like the regular build and buy catalog. I don't know if you guys will agree with me, but that is definitely my perspective. And here I was trying a different Cottage Living fence. I don't keep this one either. And you know why? It's because it was clashing with the stone fences that are kind of out in the world that are from the Get Together debug menu. I just didn't like it. So I ended up using this one, which I think I used in my autumnal brick cottage in Henford-on-Bagley. So it makes all of the sense that I would say Cottage Living is very versatile. I used it a lot in this build. And I ended up using the same debug fence because I just thought it matched really, really nicely. And I didn't put any activities in the front yard either. I think off camera what I do is I want to say the telescope and a couple of rocking chairs just on the front porch. But I also did this. I took a bunch of these rocks and kind of like shaped or outlined this little brick space in the front. It doesn't really mean anything. I just thought it looked different and that it looked nice. And then there's a pathway off to the left-hand side that leads to the backyard, which I made right here. So there does end up being a pretty significantly sized backyard because, again, this is like a 30 by 40 lot. And this house, this house is only, I say only because my last autumnal build was a 6-bedroom house. This is only a 4-bedroom house, but it's a pretty big freaking house. And I did not anticipate having so much space in the backyard to play around with. I was stumped on the backyard for 2 days. It was really, really difficult. I did not know what to do for the life of me. I was going to fence it all in, add a gate, maybe like section it off a little bit with like a kid's play area, maybe like a gardening area, stuff like that. And I just despised the fact that this section right here ended up being almost a perfect square. And before that, it was this really long rectangle of fenced in space. And it was hurting my brain and I can't explain it. Outside of that, it just like didn't click in my brain. I did not like it. So I used this debug fence and I end up carrying it around the entire lot and just working on the backyard later because I could not conceptualize it to save my life. And then I just tried to carry through some of the landscaping to the sides of this build and trying to just make sure that everything made sense and seemed balanced to me and was in the right spot. I don't know how else to explain it. And the more I think about it and look back on this build, which I only finished yesterday, it makes it sound like I finished it like a week ago. I literally finished it yesterday at the time of me recording this. And I really didn't decorate the front yard as much as I was anticipating. But now we are on to the interior. So I did figure out the stair placement prior to jumping into the floor planning. And I almost didn't show you guys the floor planning because I did, again, figure it out ahead of time. Though the slight change that I do make is where the dining and kitchen are. I split those two rooms. Originally, I was thinking I was going to have like this big open dining kitchen area, kind of like the living room because it's huge. The living room is like really big. And here, this is where the kitchen and dining is. I end up splitting it because I just really did not like it being this open. It didn't work for me. I couldn't figure out a layout for the cabinets and everything. So I stripped it back, I separated the rooms, and I started with the dining space because I used this big accordion looking door from the Desert Luxe kit to go right out onto the back porch. I thought that was so So nice. I wanted to use the archway from the industrial loft kit, but the only swatch that may have matched was a little bit too much of a brighter brown, and it was like the really scuffed up dirty looking one, and I didn't really think that that would match here, so I used this one. And I also used it from the dining room into the kitchen, which I thought was really, really nice. I just loved it. I love this space so much. I have been doing this more often than not now in builds, it seems, where I use like big archways or the accordion doors or something to an outdoor space. And I just really enjoy it. I think it's so pretty. And for me, in a build, for it to be big enough, because I don't make a lot of huge builds, at least I don't think I do, it's kind of a luxury to be able to use that. So I used it here. And the dining room, very plainly decorated. I decided to go with the darker woods like I did on the exterior. And then I wanted green, because you know what? I like green, and the darker green appliances that I put in the kitchen remind me of fall. So even though it's not a fall-themed build, it might be very autumnal. I don't know. I'm trying to make builds that can fit within the season of fall that aren't super, super decorated or themed, because I like them to be a little bit more versatile, and I don't know. I guess versatile is the word. I want them to be more accessible in that way for everybody. Like, I don't want you guys to have to go through, change every swatch under the sun, or delete a bunch of items because they're super themed. You know, I might make a build every now and then that's like, this is a house decorated for Halloween, you guys, enjoy. And then you'd have to pull back everything if you didn't want it to be decorated for that holiday. But for this one, I just decided to build in fall and then just go with like the darker, cozier colors that I just personally enjoy on interiors anyway. So here I have finally figured out, kind of sort of, a layout for the kitchen. The kitchen was just really hard because we have this bay window area and it almost turned into a galley kitchen, but then I add this big island. I end up stripping it back a few different times to try to figure it out because it was really tough. I wanted there to be a couple of bar stools, but I couldn't find a configuration that I felt complemented the space, and it just took me a long time to figure it out. I tried to have like a little armchair over there. I was like, let's put a painting over on this wall because I don't know what the heck else I'm going to put on this wall. Like, I don't know what to do. It's not a big enough space for like another console table really, or a bookcase or anything like that. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a floating shelf and I'll do it off camera. I'll add some decorations and then I'll figure out the island, which is exactly what I did. So I kind of took it off camera, but you guys will see it in the screenshots. And now this room down here, let's talk about the Munch family actually, because again, this is specifically for them. So this space down here is going to be a home office. And what I did is I locked this door for everybody but Gunther Munch. So Gunther Munch is a young adult. He is the oldest, I'll say, child of, what's her name? Mila Munch, I think is the mom. We'll get to her in a second. But Gunther is the oldest child. He is a young adult. He is very much into writing. He's a bookworm. He's creative, a quick learner. And I want to say that technically his career, when you load him up in the game, I think he's a writer assistant. I think he's in the writing career. In my save file, I made him a freelance writer because he's also attending university for something pertaining to writing. I don't know if that's actually a major. I'd have to take a look. But anyway, he is heavy into books and writing. So I wanted him to have his own special little space. So he's got his own office down here on the first floor. And I think the original description of this family too basically alludes to Mila not being able to get her oldest son to move out of the house. I don't know. I see him as a mama's boy. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just how I see him. But he also really wants to be independent and he wants to kick off his writing career. So that's what he's trying to do. So he gets his own office space, which I thought was kind of nice. Now, if you wanted to use this for any other family though, that could actually be turned into another bedroom if that's what you wanted, because right now this is suited for up to, I think it's 5 Sims. If you were to have 2 parents and like 3 kids of varying ages or something like that. You can have up to 5 Sims in this house with you know, pets or anything too. But that could be an additional bedroom if you wanted to as well. And now here is the entryway, very plainly decorated, actually. I did not go nuts with the decorations here. And you know what it is? I've said this before, is when I use a wallpaper or paneling that has like a pretty in-your-face pattern, kind of like this one, I don't feel the need to cover up every inch of wall space. It looks decorated enough to me. I did add a few paintings here and there, and of course, what do sconces do? They save lives, so sconces are all over this build as well, because it's a pretty big build. And I just have like runner rugs and things. We've got this old Victorian grandfather clock in this hallway. I think I add a chess table in the hallway. Yeah, I do. Look at me. I haven't forgotten everything. I just finished it yesterday. I haven't forgotten yet. Good for me. You go, April. And then there's plants all over this build because I love plants. And now there are 3 bathrooms, I want to say. So 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. 2 of them are 3/4 baths. One of them is a full, and 3/4 bath just means that there's a shower instead of a shower tub combo, which for me, not a huge deal, but I wanted to make sure there was a shower tub combo somewhere in case you had a different family in mind. If you had a family that had an infant or a toddler, or if you end up giving this family a dog, you need a place to bathe all of those living things, and that would be a bathtub. So that is upstairs, but this is at least a 3/4 bath downstairs, which I thought was nice. And then here's the living room. This room was so hard to decorate for. It was really, really challenging. It almost looks a bit too busy for me, actually. I'm still not like 100% okay with it. I might make tweaks for putting this in my save file. I just don't really know what those tweaks look like yet. But I love the fireplace. I like the bookcases on either side. I struggled with couch selection, and I ended up choosing the couches from Get Together. But I don't really like them. It's just like they look too hard because a majority of it is just wood. I don't know what it is. I'm not a huge fan. I tried to use this armchair as well from Cats and Dogs, and I just didn't like it in any of the swatches. So I end up using, I want to say it's a career unlock from, it might be from the writing career, I think. It's like this big armchair. It looks like a leather armchair. I used 2 of them instead to kind of like change things up a little bit. I also added bookcases. You're going to see so many of them. If one of these bookcases is not accessible, don't worry. There's probably like 6 more your Sims can use because there are bookcases everywhere. I also used the standing piano and put no decorations on top of it. I thought there were enough decorations in this space as is, but I did really like adding the piano as well. There's a console table over here. And then I just shift where everything is on like which side of the room because I did want to keep a dollhouse. I think I end up getting the medieval castle one though downstairs for Lucas because he is a child sim and he's a creative little child sim. He's a creative little bean. So he gets like a dollhouse and a creativity table. But we're already on to the second floor because I already did the floor plan. And this is the primary bedroom. So this is for Mom. This is for Mila. And she has a nice fireplace in her bedroom. And that's pretty much the only defining feature in the bedroom as I try to make it sound exciting. She's also in the cooking career, the culinary career. My apologies, the culinary career. And I think she's, at least in my save file, I don't know what she is by default, but she's a head caterer. So she's pretty far up in that career in my save file. I want to say that was default. I don't know if I changed that. I'd have to look into it. I don't actually recall. I would say put it in the comments down below, but to be completely frank, I'm going to look it up in 2 seconds anyway, and I'm going to know. So it's okay. But she's got a dresser, she's got an armchair, again, that fireplace over in the corner. And what's kind of wild, I don't normally do this, and people have left comments about it. I see all of you. It is The Sims. We don't always have to do things that are super realistic. But in this circumstance, almost all of the fireplaces ended up in a spot where there is actually a chimney stack. So you're welcome. It does not always work out like that. I actually love this. I've talked about this before. In The Sims 3, which I didn't know this until maybe last year because when I played The Sims 3, I only played it. I never built. Never in my life have I built in The Sims until The Sims 4. Anyway, in The Sims 3, when you placed a fireplace, it would automatically put like a chimney stack on the exterior of the build. I loved that feature. I almost wish that was optional in The Sims 4. Like if you put down a fireplace and it added the chimney stack that you could delete it without it being an issue. Do you know what I mean? But it would be kind of like a suggested spot for it. I think that would be so cool. I thought that was such a neat feature in The Sims 3 build mode. Other than that, for me, awful build mode. Couldn't do it. I tried. I think it was last year or the year prior. Time's an enigma. Like, what do I know? And I tried building The Sims 3 and oh my God, was it so difficult. Anyway, we're moving on to Wolfgang's room. Now, I have a special place in my heart for Wolfgang Munch, and that is because he was the spouse of my Generation 3 heir in my off-camera legacy, which I post on Tumblr all the time. I'm going to keep plugging it because I am obsessed with my own legacy. Yes, because it is very, very fun. Anyway, I love Wolfgang, and by default, he is a teenager. Now, he is the rebellious child. We have Gunther, who seems to be like the perfect little creative child. who won't leave the house. Then you have Wolfgang, who is very, very rebellious. In fact, he is in the Renegades Club by default when you get together. So he is gloomy, he's mean, and he's dastardly. And his aspiration is to be a public enemy. Yet, whatever floats your boat, man, it's all right. In my legacy, though, he wants to get out of the life of crime. My heart. Anyway, I literally love Wolfgang so much. But I wanted his teen room to really reflect his style and his interests because he's very different from his siblings, and I feel like his room should be very reflective of who he is and his personality. So I made it just black. I used just black wall paint. He's got kind of like this beat up dumpster bed, and I think that was his choice. Like, he didn't want the traditional, like, fancy wood furniture that the rest of the house is furnished with. By the way, Gunther's room is basically, it matches the entire house perfectly. Like, Gunther is that child, okay? I don't know what else to say. But I wanted Wolfgang's room to be a little bit different. Like, he's got like rundown thrifted items instead, because I just feel like that's his vibe. He's got like this old beat up TV. He's got this little tiny dresser. Maybe this is something he picked up at a thrift store or whatever, because the little like diamond knobs, he didn't care. It's just, it adds character to the room. I don't know what else to say. And then he does have a desk where he's got like a really nice computer though for streaming. I don't know if he actually streams or anything like that, but I think he does enjoy a good video game or something like that. And instead of the phone and the little fake clock there on a side table, I forgot about this item until literally this build. When I placed a crate of records from the Basement Treasures kit, I was like, wait a minute. We have a record player now. I don't know how I forgot. I love record players. I have one literally identical to this. I genuinely do. And I completely forgot about it until I put down that crate of records. So he has a record player there. And what I did when I was playtesting this build is I made him blast metal music and play The Sims. It was, number one, super meta. But number two, I loved it because Gunther was downstairs in his office writing, and I could hear the metal music from downstairs when I was focused on Gunther. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is the epitome of this family. Like, Gunther's downstairs in his office trying to get peace and quiet to just get in the creative zone and write away, write his masterpiece. Wolfgang's upstairs blasting metal music, just being a nuisance. And Lucas, the little angel nugget that he is just in his room, like, drawing little pictures. Like, I just loved it. Now, this is Gunther's room. So like I said, it very much so matches the house. It's not really too customized to him. He does have like a typewriter under glass and some books, and he's got these, well, I'll just say like the framed publications. I don't know if he wants to be a journalist. I think he wants to be a novelist, but I just thought it kind of tried to tip my hat there to just him being into writing and everything like that. So maybe those were publications he did in like the high school newspaper or magazine or something, and he just likes to have them. I don't know. But that's the level of customization for his room. It really isn't too heavily customized. Also, you probably just saw, I just noticed it and I'm infuriated. I have like, I can't believe this actually showed up in the footage. I'm so embarrassed. But I have like this thing that tracks my CPU and GPU temp, and it was temporarily like right in the middle of the screen, and now I'm upset because it should be on my other monitor, not this one. It's already gone. I don't know why I'm pointing it out. It's embarrassing. Anyway, his room is almost decorated. It really isn't that fancy or that individualized. I don't know how else to articulate this. I'm losing it. But I know that the next room that we go to is Lucas's bedroom, and his bedroom is so cute. I just, again, wanted it to be reflective of his personality. So Lucas is basically like the little angel child. Like, he is the one that makes his mom's day better, trying to deal with Gunther, who won't leave the house, and Wolfgang, who's like always getting into trouble. And Lucas is a very creative little bean, but he also is part of like the Green Thumbs Club. So it seems like wait, is that correct? I said Green Thumbs. It's actually the Garden Gnomes, but you're picking up what I'm putting down. So he seems to like gardening and being outside. He does have the trait of loves the outdoors. So even though I couldn't really reflect that too much, I mean, I suppose I could, but I kind of had a specific theme in mind of just kind of like this dark blue color scheme. But I wanted him to have the opportunity to get into gardening because kids can indeed garden, I believe at this point. They can help out with that. So there's 2 greenhouses in the backyard that I thought him and his mom could spend a lot of time in. Maybe she grows ingredients because she loves to cook. So maybe she kind of grows herbs and things like that. They also have I'm getting ahead of myself, but they also have a specific part of one of the greenhouses that has like 4 beehives. So one of these Sims loves beekeeping, okay? You can decide whichever one. It obviously can't be Lucas as a child, but perhaps it's Wolfgang. Maybe he's got like this little quirk. I don't, why am I calling it a quirk? Maybe he has a non-stereotypical interest in beekeeping compared to his other activities. Maybe that's the route we're going to take. But Lucas's room is the smallest, so it was a challenge to kind of fit everything in here, but I did play test it like I do all my builds. And the most important thing for me was that he was able to sit and draw at the creativity table and that he was able to play with his toys and get into his bed, no problem whatsoever. So that was really great. Nobody else had an issue as well getting into their beds or using the other activities in their spaces, which was wonderful. I didn't have to shift anything. And now we're moving on to the backyard, which again, took me a few days to figure out. I tend to go very symmetrical or balanced with my backyard spaces. I don't know why, but I thought, you know what, this is a big enough space. Even though I'm building in fall, they do have a pool because pools aren't seasonal in the sense of like getting them only in the summer and then they like disappear. You have them year round. But I decided to give them a pretty decent sized pool. And then again, they have these 2 greenhouses, which this is my first time, I think, in a speed build on the channel where I had the opportunity to use the Greenhouse Haven kit, which is wild because we have had that kit for some time now. But I thought this was the perfect opportunity to do that. And I had a lot of fun making these greenhouses. They fit perfectly in this little space in the side yard, which I really enjoyed. So again, there's 2 of them. One of them is exclusively for gardening, and the other one has the bee boxes. I think that's it. And I think there's like a little faux garden like potting station too. I don't remember because a lot of the Greenhouse Haven kit, I was a little bit, I don't know if disappointed is the right word. I guess I was kind of surprised that a lot of the Greenhouse Haven kit wasn't necessarily functional. It was a lot of decorative stuff, which was a little bit disappointing. Like, I don't believe, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't play test it because I didn't think it could be play tested, so maybe that's an oversight. But I don't think the potting station, the little tiny one that came with the Greenhouse Haven kit, is functional. I don't believe it is. If it is, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised because y'all have one in there then. Great. But there are a bunch of like gardening boxes as well, like the little 4 planters and then the single planters too. But we are just carrying the landscaping through to the backyard as well, which again, I really liked the landscaping. And when I actually placed this in my save file, it was summer, I want to say, and the landscaping still looked really nice, not being in like all these fall colors. So that's a huge plus as well. It's always a challenge to build in winter, for example, because everything is so dead and you don't know how it's going to look when it regrows in the spring in game. It's always a challenge, but building in fall, or at least the first few days of fall, I'll say, are pretty reliable in regards to how landscaping will end up looking. But I am not going to keep you guys around for maybe the full 35 minutes. I might end it here. So I'll leave the greenhouses as a surprise for the screenshots, which will be coming in just a few seconds, maybe. But yeah, quickly we decorate around the pool with a few lounge chairs, diving board. I put the little steam heaters at the bottom of this pool too. There's an outside dining table, a grill, and then the greenhouses for activities. But I hope you all enjoyed this one. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on this, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
I've been down, I've been everywhere, but I'm alright now, I'm alright. I nearly drowned in my own despair, but I'm alright now, yeah. Baby, you can turn the rain into gold. I couldn't stop, always messing around. But that has changed now. That has changed. I never thought I could settle down. But that has changed now. That has changed. Baby, you can turn the rain into gold. So this is what it means to fall in love. I like it. I used to think another wasted night, but I'm not